My name is Declan Quinn, and this is my final project for LB274. Static electricity occurs through an imbalance of positive and negative charges within a material. It is induced through an electron transfer between atoms who come into contact with one another. Static electricity can be induced through contact rubbing using various fabrics. Knowing which fabrics can better charge an object through static electricity can be beneficial in lots of different ways, from anti-static clothing to reducing static discharge capabilities in laboratories and hospital settings. I've been introduced to static electricity through my roommate's dad, who works in a hospital and has talked to me before about anti-static clothing. Anti-static clothing is used to avoid static discharge, which may damage or alter medical equipment. I found this interesting because I never really considered how the clothing or attire someone would wear could affect the ability of the technology they use. I learned from this project how charging capacities and static electricity generated change depending on the material used to charge. This scenario serves as a learning experience and reminder to aspiring scientists and those who might work around labs that complications in human error and results can occur from even the smallest of things like the clothes someone wears. As previously mentioned, materials get charged from static electricity due to an imbalance of positive and negative charges induced by electron transfer between atoms. Balloons are easily charged because they're made of rubber, and rubber is a poor electrical insulator. Fabrics with low moisture absorption, like synthetic fibers, are better chargers of static electricity. In contrast, fabrics with high moisture absorption are worse at generating static electricity. Shown here is research from other researchers on electrostatic voltage and fabrics. They found that the electrostatic voltage depends on the fabric used to charge, as well as the intensity and duration of the rubbing period. Static electricity helps people through being implemented in tools such as precipitators, spray paint, and nanotechnology. Knowing about the charging capabilities of certain fabrics can help people through reducing static discharge in certain settings, knowing which clothes to wear to minimize static discharge potential, and reducing the potential of ruining electronics via static discharge. My research focused on the question of how do the charges of equally charged balloons change depending on the fabric which they are charged by. Using 3 different fabrics and equally charging balloons, the charge of the balloons for each material is measured through the repulsive force of the 2 balloons. This experiment helps to connect concepts of kinematics to electrical charges and forces, in addition to being able to quantify how charge differs on objects depending on the mechanism of their charging. 2 equal balloons are charged simultaneously for 7 seconds with one of the fabrics. They're placed a distance away from each other and then released, with their movement representing the force of repulsion. The charge is then calculated. This process is repeated twice for each fabric. I will be using tracker to calculate force of repulsion, and charge will be calculated through using Coulomb's law. Shown here are my experimental assumptions and variables. The independent variable is the fabric used to charge balloons, and the response variable is the repulsive force and therefore charge between the balloons. Shown here is how charge is calculated, solving for Q using Coulomb's law. Shown here are system schemas of the experiment. Shown here are free body force diagrams for the balloons during this experiment. Shown here are the results for cotton, the results for fleece, and the results for non-cotton twill used as a fabric to charge. Cotton yielded the least amount of charge on the balloons. Fleece yielded the greatest amount of charge on the balloons, and non-cotton twill yielded a charge in between. Shown here is the uncertainty of the force of repulsion through calculations done in tracker. It can be reasonably assumed that fleece possesses the greatest capacity of generating static electricity out of the 3 fabrics, due to producing the greatest charge. In contrast, cotton possesses the least capacity out of the 3. These results are consistent with the previous literature and research discussed at the introduction and investigation stage of this project, therefore further validating the results. Human error could be present within the tracker movement, tracking, and uncertainty calculations. Shown here is a class problem dealing with electrostatic voltage and balloons. Shown here is the solution to that problem. Thank you.